Chapter 44. The Seraphim took a swing at Angel with his pistol, a strike that knocked her onto her back and broke the skin. Her forehead slowly oozed with blood. From the floor she looked up at him, her eyes, and soon her whole voice demanding, "Why?" With his face at last revealed, there was something unquestionably wrong with his expression. The face that gave a smile toward murder now yielded eyes that appeared horribly troubled. With no more mask to hide behind, his was a dour frown. "I should have been killed the first time when I was a child," the Seraphim said. "After the first time Blackfire dug a blade into my jugular. He called it bloodletting, and that with it I would become what I had to in order to complete God's plan for me. He spilled my blood all over the floor and began to paint shades and runes with it. By the time he was finished, I couldn't move a muscle. My heart stopped beating. I could no longer draw breath. But I was still alive. Blackfire then told me I wouldn't be allowed to die until I fulfilled my purpose. I had an obligation to God that had to be fulfilled. Only once I completed my duty would I be allowed into the kingdom." The Seraphim paused. A vile tension ran through the church as he began to laugh at his growing madness. "You have no idea what it does to you. Screaming and praying for a demise that never comes." Angel did not break her stare as she struggled to digest his words. She knew of immortal foes. Her father served under Ra's al Ghul. Batman described encounters with the great Vandal savage. Even Blackfire had been said to be deathless. But this man too, who dressed like a monstrous angel and sought the destruction of every faith but his own? "The old deacon made it all perfectly clear. I would never escape this horrid world until I fulfilled my purpose. Gotham needed to be razed, destroyed like the cities of old. It wasn't right. I never asked for this!" He suddenly found himself yelling and bitterly smashed his fist into a pew on his right. For a few seconds he stood silent, as if contemplating his own words, before he calmed just a little and continued. "But it must be my place. In my veins flows the blood of the angels. You know that isn't true." "It's true because I say it is! It's true because I said it, and because I believe it! It's true because the voice of God says it's true!" Again the Seraphim stopped briefly to compose himself, then concluded with, "His will, not mine, be done." A low, raspy laugh came from the corner behind the Seraphim. He and Angel turned toward the embittered Monsignor Ryan as he glared in their direction. "Just following orders, were you? Just doing what you thought God wanted? God gave you a brain, didn't he? Weren't you given the ability to think for yourself? And I suppose you think it's different than the Crusades," the Seraphim said, "or imprisoning Galileo, or any instances of the Catholic Church's child abuse and molestation." "No, it isn't any different," Monsignor Ryan said. "Even those who believe themselves the holiest of men defied the grand plan throughout history. We're all tempted to do evil. You've just convinced yourself that temptation is God himself." "You're an old fool." The Seraphim turned to face him. "God is not soft. God is not swayed. God demanded my ancestor Abraham tie down his son for sacrifice. And then he sent a ram to take his place," Father Ryan said. "God is not seeking slaughter and sacrifice and pride. You've confused him with Satan." The Seraphim just chuckled at this, stepped over to his helmet, and shook his head. "I'd silence you for good, Father, but I have use for you yet. But for the moment..." The Seraphim reached into his helmet, pulled out a headset with a microphone attached, slid it on, and pressed a switch on his left ear. "Lester, what's your position?" As he said it, he reached into the belt at his right hip and tossed a similar pair of headphones to Angel. "Put those on. I want you to hear this." Angel gave him a look before she did as he said. Instantly she heard shouting, and, despite the distance, she recognized the voices of her allies. "No." "The trigger is in the palm of my hand, my lord," the preacher said. "The Batman and his dear allies are prepared for their execution by firing squad. We await your orders." "Good. Do you have an extra set of headphones?" "Yes, sire." "Do you have a command?" Put them on the Batman's ear. When I give the order, you are to kill the rest. But the Bat lives. He is mine." "No!" Angel rose to strike back, but the Seraphim took aim with his gun and fired a round into the center of her symbol. She collapsed backwards to the ground instantly, surely about to spurt blood at any moment. The Seraphim briefly took his hand from the earpiece and said, "You can't ruin this now. If I don't die with this church, Batman's the last chance I've got. If he could find a way to kill Blackfire, he'll find a way to kill me." "It is done, sir," the preacher said. "Only God can save you now." He turned those words into a taunt toward Batman. "Good! I assume you can hear me now then, Batman." The roar of rage was audible from both the Seraphim and Cassandra's headset, and confirmed the claim. "Excellent! I thought you deserved to know your angel practically came crawling back to try and finish things with me. She's here, about to fade into darkness from the bullet I put in her heart." This cry was even more thunderous than the last, though still no words could clearly be made out. "I hope you're ready for what comes next. I hope you've said everything you desire to your allies, because my plans of converting them have been disposed of. They are not worthy of my salvation. They are not!" Angel slowly crept a hand toward her utility belt. Her uniform, as it had been suggested back in the cave, was particularly padded around the areas colored white, and the bright yellow symbol even more so. Even at the close range, the armor cushioned nearly all of the impact, and she subsequently got a moment to feign a more grievous injury. The Seraphim could, at any moment, yell for the execution of her friends and family. But he'd proven all too well how much he loved to stand on formality. He would gloat for as long as he could, and as long as he didn't consider her a threat, Angel would be safe. Not to mention the noise from the headset effectively distracted him as she slowly and gently drew a batarang. The rest would depend on this weapon. If she used it just right, maybe she could save Bruce and the others. Judging the moment to perfection, Angel pushed herself into a half-sitting position and threw her batarang. The tool soared straight and high. Its blade severed the Seraphim's microphone and reopened the cross-shaped scar on his cheek. The villain was momentarily thrown by this. His monologue interrupted mid-sentence as he looked toward Angel. His eyes turned toward his ruined microphone, and he stood shaking for a moment before he screamed, "God damn it!" Still sufficiently distracted, Angel made a run at him with a second batarang in hand, jumped and bounced off one of the pews, and made a lunge for the canister of fuel strapped to the Seraphim's back, positioned between his wings. Using the weapon like a knife, she severed the multiple lines that led out from the tank before she thrust the blade itself into the center. The material was surprisingly light and flexible, which allowed for an easy dig. The Seraphim made a run for his still flaming sword, but as the fuel began to drip, the fire was instantly fed. As he was slowly being covered with the stuff, he backed away, a fear growing in his eyes. Angel ran toward Monsignor Ryan, Snowball, and her sword. She strapped the last to her back as she tried to support the old priest and his dog, but barely dodged another bullet from the Seraphim for her trouble. "Damn it, Lester, kill them! Kill them all already!" But it was clear from the uncomfortable silence Angel could hear over the headset that Lester couldn't hear a thing. Sire, we're awaiting your orders." "I think Elijah had an experience like this," Angel heard Batman taunting in the background. "Maybe your god is asleep. Maybe you should yell louder." Angel pulled Monsignor Ryan to the underside of a pew and promised, "We'll save you. Save us both. Need to do one thing first." Under ordinary circumstances, Angel would never attempt what she was about to do. It was far too dangerous. There were far too many risk factors. She could not usually count on her opponent to survive, but the Seraphim had proven he was no ordinary foe. As he fired a few more rounds and was forced to reload, Angel sprung back from her hiding place and quickly ran at the rack of candles against the wall-mounted statue of the Virgin Mary cradling the infant Jesus. Grabbing a few of the votives, she flung them at the Seraphim, and before he could even form a face of horror at the implications, she set his whole body aflame. The Seraphim screamed and tried desperately to beat out the flames as Angel returned to Monsignor Ryan, Snowball clutched under his arm. She pulled one of his arms over her shoulder, took the dog from his hands, and held him close as they made their way toward a passageway at the right side of the church. Soon, they shut and locked themselves in Monsignor Ryan's office. The two finally had a brief moment to catch their breaths. The situation with Lester, Batman, and the rest was quickly dissolving into madness as the Seraphim's servants began to question his orders. Why weren't they going through with the execution yet? "It didn't work. He's gone. The boss is gone. Why the hell is he gone?" "Quiet down over there," Lester said. "We still don't know." "We know your boss is a psychopath," Angel heard Robin yell, "and it looks like God's finally shut him up." "Silence! All of you! Hoskins, what the hell are you? It's not worth it. Lucifer was a sun demon, Lester. God favors the darkness. We were wrong. I can't do this anymore." "No! No!" She heard a sudden burst of fist against flesh. Whatever bondage Angel's allies had been contained within was suddenly broken. All hell was breaking loose inside the underground chapel. "Good Lord, such madness." Monsignor Ryan fought the pain from the bullet wound as best he could. "But this door will hardly last. He'll break it down." "Wants you alive," Angel said. "Only wants to kill me. Must be something we can do." She thought back, between the last months and the last moments as the Seraphim screamed in pain and anger. The first moments with Monsignor Ryan, the earliest battles with the cherubim, her capture and the images that tormented her the most, the stories she heard while she was unconscious. Any of those things might help her. If Stephanie could lure Red Hood into a trap by appealing to his ego, maybe she could do the same. If the Seraphim could not be defeated by normal means, his immortality could allow for more extreme measures to be taken. It didn't matter if the Seraphim's claims were true or if his plan worked. His cult believed they would work. Only God can save you now. It all came to her at once. It was risky. A lot could go wrong. She could still fail. But if it worked, she could save everyone. Her family, the citizens of Gotham, maybe even herself. She couldn't think of another strategy where all three seemed possible. "Monsignor, do you have your phone?" "Huh? Yes, I do." Monsignor Ryan looked toward his desk, grabbed the device, and handed it to her. "Why? What on earth do you need it for?" "One person left." Angel slid the headphones onto her neck. "Have a plan. If it works, we will end the Seraphim. Forever." Monsignor Ryan gave her a look of confusion before giving her a slow, though still muddled nod of approval. "Stay here. Leave him to me. Please," Monsignor Ryan said. "Let me help. Let me do something." Angel turned toward the door and glared out the window. "Pray for me," Angel said. "Pray this works." And with that she opened the door, rushed out, shut it behind her, and glared at the Seraphim as he managed to kill the last of the flames. With his skin and wings now horribly burned, he better resembled a demon than an angel. "That's the last mistake you get to make," a snarl edged his speech. "You cannot win," Angel said. "It is not God's will." She knew this would enrage him further, and without another thought he ran at her. Angel, smaller but still faster, retreated toward the church's entrance, threw open the door inscribed with the words "Bell Tower," and began to ascend the staircase. Her mind turned to prayer as she punched a number into the cell phone and hoped she remembered what she needed. After a few rings, a tired Stephanie answered, "Hello?" "Stephanie? Good. What the... Cassie?" It came out more as a demand than a question. "Babs just called me an hour ago asking about you. Where the hell are you?" "No time." Angel checked the clock and found it was just before 10. "Seraphim's bombs go off in an hour. Need your help." "My help?" Stephanie said, still shocked. "You know I've got a bad leg. I could fight the Hood, but that was about the extent of it. I really don't think..." "Don't need you to fight," Angel continued up the stairs. "Just need you to be in costume and go somewhere." "What's that going to accomplish?" "If you do it, and do what I say, we can save everyone," Angel said. "Batman, Nightwing, Tim, all need you. Know you can save them." "What did you have in mind?" "Be spoiler. Go to their base. Barbara will tell you where." "Great. I'm rushing into danger, and I gotta steal my mom's car." "What's the catch? How is me going there and not fighting anyone gonna stop him from taking out all those churches?" "Do as I say," Angel said. "We will do it his way, and we will win."